Hello and welcome back to OCAA Volleyball here at Mohawk College. I'm Cody Lake alongside Wes Linwood, and we got the men's time here as the Mountaineers take on the Niagara Knights in volleyball action. Wes, what are you looking forward to here tonight?
I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing this be a very close, even matchup as Niagara and Mohawk are both very close in the standings as Niagara is just barely ahead. Niagara has a better record of 6-5, while we only have a record of 4-6. But we are tied with points per set with Niagara, so we're looking to try to jump them today.
Yeah, and Mohawk's going to be facing a visibly weaker lineup here. Or sorry, Niagara will be facing a visually weaker lineup for Mohawk, as Mitch McFadden is out with a pulled groin.
A pulled groin?
Yeah, he pulled his groin earlier this week, and he will not be playing in tonight's game. He is not suited up. He is out on the injury reserve, and they're not sure how long exactly he's going to be out. Hopefully it's not too long, but
that's definitely going to be a hit towards their team, towards their offense, as their offense has been all kill, and McFadden's usually the man that they send it to. So we're going to see how this Mohawk squad is going to be able to play here without their number one player, arguably their number one player.
Yeah, I spoke to him earlier today. We had a little interview, and he said his team shouldn't. Actually, we're going to talk about that interview in just a bit because we're going to be getting into this real soon. We have Trey Hamilton coming over here. If you can hear him in the background with the pre-game lineups here for your Mohawk Mountaineers.
We're just about to get started up here. Looks like we've got a starting lineup of Elijah Lopez. We've got Joel Van Dyke. We've got Paul Wagner. We've got Chris Dashford, and we've got Tyler Kane. We've got Andrew Kong and Brandon Cokeless starting out. And Andrew Kong is going to start out with the first serve of the game for Mohawk.
And we're just about set under action. Andrew Kong with the serve.
Handled easily by Niagara as Niagara sets up to get it going here, and they come in with a hard spike right off the beginning. Andrew Kong coming with the set, and Elijah Lopez sends an absolute cannon, but it goes right out of bounds. That is a point for Niagara as Niagara takes the first point in this game. And we'll now have the serve. Now number 6, Ben Fillmore from Port Dover serving for Niagara right now. Going with a big serve, and that big serve goes right over the heads of the entire Mohawk squad, and that's an easy pickup for them. Now Elijah Lopez from St. Catharines is going to be serving for Mohawk.
An interesting stat to look at here. Coming into this game, Niagara and Mohawk both have the same amount of points per set at 13.1.
Awkward dig by Niagara there, but they set it up, and it bounces off the top of the net. That is a point for Mohawk as it goes out of bounds. Mohawk taking the first lead of the game here.
Niagara, a huge amount of digs this season, 108 digs for star player Robert Zalowski. He also has 0 attacks and 0 errors this season, so he's really clean and really defensive.
And then they come in with the second spike, number 15, Jacob Williamson. Second time's the charm, and he manages to put it through with the Mohawk squad. So it's now all tied at 2s here. And now Mitch Sawatsky has the serve for Niagara. And the dig by Elijah Lopez. The set by Andrew Kong and the spike by Joel Ward, but that hits the net, and that is the point for Niagara. Niagara now up 3-2. Mitch Sawatsky serving again for Niagara. The dig by Chris Dashford. Andrew Kong with the set. And an absolute cannon by Brandon Cokeless. That is in. That is a point for Mohawk.
No, actually.
No, my mistake. That is a point for Niagara. I believe they touched the net. My apologies. Mitch Sawatsky now has the service once again. Niagara leading 4-2. The awkward dig there by Elijah Lopez in the setup. And Paul Wagner is unable to send it over the net as he sends it directly into it. And Niagara is now up 5-2. And now Mitch Sawatsky serving again for Niagara. And what an awkward point there for Niagara as Brandon Cokless dives as it just barely trickles over the net. And now Mitch Sawatsky going for his 5th serve in a row. Set by Andrew Kong, and just the tip by Paul Wagner, but it cannot go over. Niagara keeping in the ball, looking to just send it over nice and easy. The set, Andrew Kong, the fake spike, and the huge spike by Joel Ward, but it gets easily dug by Niagara. The big tip, but Paul Wagner cannot handle it. And that is another point for Niagara, as Niagara is now up 5 points, 7-2. And that is the timeout called by the Mohawk squad, as they find themselves down by 5 here early in the first set.
Yeah, and as they take that first time out, we're just going to take a look at how Mitch McFadden isn't in this game. And I'm going to be talking to him coming up after the first set, actually. I talked to him earlier today, but we're actually going to be getting an interview done. So that's going to be exciting.
Some one-on-one time.
Yes. So that's going to be fun, but he mentioned something earlier about them sharing the ball rather well, and then the reason why he was a top killer, he mentioned to me earlier, was because the team just basically chooses him. He said it's just the next guy in line, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in a bit, and I'm sure that'll be an interesting little talk.
Steven Stone obviously having to give his team a pep talk, but now we're looking at the Niagara bench. Coach telling them just to keep doing what they're doing, just keep themselves going here. And now Mitch Sawatsky will have the service for Niagara here after that timeout. Elijah Lopez with the dig, the set by Andrew Kong, and a huge blast by Brandon Cokless, who goes right off the arm of Ben Fillmore, who just could not handle it.
Yeah, and speaking of who might be next in line for Mohawk, Brandon Cokless has been almost just as good as a killer, especially against that last game against Fanshawe. He was a huge killer.
Paul Wagner with the serve for Mohawk, easily dug by Mitch Sawatsky, and just a quick tip over the net by Jacob Williamson there. Mohawk's not able to handle it, as Niagara's now up 8-3, and they continue trying to hold their 5-point lead.
Yeah, quick start here for Niagara, as the Mountaineers are going to have to get something going.
Jacob Williamson with the serve. The dig by Elijah Lopez, the set, and the blast by Joel Van Dyke, but the Niagara squad blocks it. And another blast by Brandon Cokless. Again, Ben Fillmore cannot handle it. And that was a point for Mohawk, as Mohawk is surging back here with 2 quick points. Now Joel Van Dyke with the service for Mohawk. The dig, the set by Ben Fillmore. And they just tip it over the net, and it almost falls, but it does not. Joel Van Dyke. And the blast by Brandon Cokless, but Niagara keeps alive. And that is a point for Niagara after a wild rally there. Almost looked like a push, but Jaden Milne sends it directly into the floorboards for a quick point for Niagara. Niagara is still holding that 5-point lead over Mohawk. And now Elijah Bugardini is serving. And he serves it out of bounds. That's a quick point back in here for Mohawk, as they're looking to try to get themselves back. Now Brandon Cokless serving for Mohawk.
Yeah, the Hamilton, Ontario native.
The dig, the set by Ben Fillmore. And the fake spike to tip. I'm not quite sure what that was, but Tristan Swindon does not get it done.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was the plan or if he kind of just changed his mind in midair there, but
the last second,
didn't work.
Yeah. Brandon Cokless with the serve once again. Set by Ben Fillmore there. And an absolute blast by Jade Milne, who is out of bounds. That is a point for Mohawk. Mohawk now only down by 2 points here. Steven Stone trying to game plan with his players here. Brandon Cokless still serves once again. This will be third in a row. This will be his 3rd in a row. Big dig by Niagara. They're unable to handle it. See if they can keep it in. And no, they could not. That is 4 hits. And that's another point for Mohawk, as Mohawk has now closed the gap to 1.
Yeah, almost back down to even here.
And that is a point for Niagara. And this is definitely looking like that. This might look like last game where we could possibly see some overtime here, as these teams are very evenly matched so far.
Yeah, nice close game so far. Leads coming in close.
Jaden Milne with the serve. Handled by Eli. That is mishandled by Mohawk after the spike. And that is a point for Niagara, as two tall guys of Ben Fillmore and Tristan Swindon, both over 6'4", come up with a huge block for Niagara.
Yeah, those are some big boys out on the court there.
And now Jaden Milne with the serve. And the tip by Elijah Lopez. What's the call there?
Stepped underneath the line, so he stepped over on the other team's
So that is
side.
a point for Niagara? Yep, yes, that is a point for Niagara. A little confusion there, but Jaden Milne has the service again after the point for Niagara. Handled by Brandon Koklus. Set up Elijah Lopez with the huge blast, but it gets blocked by the Giants at the net for Niagara. Ben Fillmore and Tristan Swindon. And now Jaden Milne serves for Niagara. And that is out of bounds over the head of Chris Dashford, and that is a point for Mohawk as they look to come back here. Still down 4 points, 13-9 here.
Yeah, Niagara's grown a little lead back now. They're trying to get an early advantage over Mohawk.
Set by Ben Fillmore. And a huge blast. Elijah Lopez, my mistake. Brandon Koklus keeping the ball alive. Joel Van Dyke sending it over the net. A quick little tip there. Elijah Lopez keeping the ball alive. Andrew Kong with the set. And Paul Wagner with a huge spike. But that is a point for Niagara, as that is out of bounds. Now Tristan Swindon from Whitby has the serve. And directly into the net, as that is an easy point pickup for Mohawk there. Andrew Kong serving for Mohawk. Ben Fillmore with the setup, and it's a quick tip. Andrew Kong sliding in to keep it alive. Chris Asher with the set, and the quick tip by Joel Van Dyke. But Niagara keeps it alive. As we are having an epic rally here, Andrew Kong with the set, and a big blast by Joel Van Dyke, and it gets past the hands of Mitch Sawatsky, and that is a point for Mohawk. And now Andrew Kong has the service again. The dig, the set by Ben Fulmer, and a huge spike, but an even bigger block by Elijah Lopez, and he is hyped about that.
Yeah, he's usually one of those players on the court that brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of intensity to the game and his team.
Andrew Kong with the serve now. Ben Fulmer with the big set, and an even bigger blast by Jacob Williamson here to just power past the Mohawk squad. This is now 15-12. My mistake, that was a point for Mohawk, I believe. Yes, it was, as it ended up going out of bounds after it hit the net. No, my mistake.
You just need to stop correcting
I
yourself.
just need to stop correcting myself, I guess. I don't know. But that is a huge serve by Ben Fillmore, and an even bigger point there, as that just barely lands inside the back line. Now Ben Fillmore from Port Dover, Ontario, serves again. And he just gives a quick little floater over the net. Andrew Kong set it up, and a huge blast from Paul Wagner, who just gets it right into the back of the court for an easy point.
Yeah, Mohawk needed that point right there. They're going to try and not lose this one. Elijah Lopez takes the serve, and he's usually pretty good from the service line.
Elijah Lopez has been fairly good tonight. Ben Fillmore with the dig to keep the ball alive. And a big blast, but a tip by Paul Wagner off his fingers, and he is not able to keep it alive, as that is a point for Niagara. Niagara is now up 14 points here, 17-13.
Mitch Sawatsky taking
With the serve.
Serve here.
Elijah Lopez with the dig. The set by Andrew Kong. Elijah Lopez in with an absolute blast that the Niagara squad just cannot handle.
He put his entire body into that one.
You can understand why it just flew right off the hands of the Niagara player. And now we see some substitutions here. Raphael Light is coming in. And Brandon Tripp is also coming in exchange for Paul Wagner and Chris Dashford. And now Brandon Tripp is Alex Tripp, my mistake, is serving. A diving dig by the Niagara player. And it's up in just a quick tip. Diving play by Elijah Lopez. And Brandon Cokless just sends it over the net. So Mohawk can try to regroup. And a big block. And they keep it alive after it goes into the net. Ben Fuller with a big setup and a big tip. Andrew Kong keeping the ball alive once again. What a rally we have going here. And Elijah Lopez with the blast. The Niagara player barely handles it. Can they send it back over? And they do. Elijah Lopez sets up Andrew Kong. Joel Van Dyke keeping it alive though. Quick tip back and forth. Point for Niagara as he can just bear after a back and forth battle. They finally tip it.
Yeah, it seems like both teams were just in desperation mode there for a moment.
Jaden Milne and Joel Van Dyke were going back and forth there. And now Jacob Williamson has the serve for Niagara. And Chris Dashford lets it go right over his head, and that's a quick point pickup from Mohawk there.
Yeah, smart move by him just to let that one roll right over his head and take the easy point.
And Niagara tries to keep the ball alive, but as a quick point is Brandon Cokless tips the ball straight down and causes Niagara squad to have 4 hits. Joel Van Dyke now has the serve for Mohawk, down 2 points, 18-16. The set by Ben Fillmore. In the blast, but kept alive by Joel Van Dyke. And Elijah Lopez comes in for an even bigger blast, but puts it directly into the net, and that is a point for Niagara.
Yeah, when you're using that much power into your spikes like he does, you're going to bound to have some kill errors on those.
Elijah Bugardini with the serve, and
What a
it's
wild
just an
name.
absolute laser beam. What it is a wild name, I'll tell you that much. A laser beam just over the heads of the Mohawk squad, keeping it within 2 here. Niagara has the short lead. Service by Brandon Cokless, bobbled by the Niagara squad, looking to try to get it over the net. The set by Andrew Kong, and the blast by Elijah Lopez cannot be handled by Tristan Swindon or Ben Fillmore, and that is a point for Mohawk as they are down only 1 here. Getting late into the first set. Brandon Cokless with the serve once again. And just a quick tip. Another quick tip by Raphael Light. But a diving play by the Niagara player keeps it alive. Chris Dashford sets the bump. And Joel Van Dyke is trying to just send it over. But they keep it alive once again in the setup. And now they're just trying to get the ball in the net so they can regroup. Niagara with a quick tip, hoping to catch Mohawk off the guard, but that is not the case. Back and forth battle here we have between the two teams. Andrew Kong with the setup. And he goes in just for the quick tip, but he misses up his timing. And that's a point for Niagara after a wild rally.
Yeah, and just, you know he's going to be kicking himself in that one. A long rally, and you really want to get those points, and just missed that one.
Jaden Milne with the botch serve directly into the net. That is a quick point for Mohawk. Trying to stay within 1 here.
And a chance to tie it up now for Mohawk, as they would really like to do that right here.
Alex Tripp subbed out for Paul Wagner.
Raphael Light taking a serve here.
And a quick tip kept alive by the Mohawk squad. Sent over the net. Smart play. And the setup, and then comes in for a big blast, and he managed to send it right past the Mohawk squad. And that's another point for Niagara. Niagara now leads 21-19 here late in the first set. Tristan Swindon with the serve here. The dig by Brandon Koklus keeping the ball alive. And Paul Wagner comes in with an absolutely destructive kill to get a very needed point for Mohawk because they're down 1 here extremely late.
I think Niagara was lucky they weren't in front of that one.
Yeah, that would have burned some hole through some arms. And now Andrew Kong with the service. And a big blast, and Joel Van Dyke is not able to handle the block. And that is a timeout by the Mohawk squad. My mistake. Apparently, it was just substitution. Never mind. The Mohawk coach is calling a timeout. Just couldn't make up his mind.
Maybe not.
Team's getting a quick little break here. Niagara up 2 points in this very close first set we have here.
Yeah, Niagara, speaking of Niagara, they shouldn't be underestimated coming into this game. Although they lost the first meeting between these two teams, they faced Sheridan recently, whom they've lost to in November, and they defeated this past Sunday. So just because they don't have the players that have single strengths on their team, and they don't have these all-stars like their top killer like McFadden here we do for Mohawk.
They're an all-around well-rounded team.
Yes, but they're a really strong team because they work together and they are good at everything. Great at nothing, good at everything.
Solid. Coming back out here to start up after this timeout. There was a substitution for the Niagara squad as Aiden Atkinson comes in and now has the serve. Elijah Lopez with the dig, the set, and the blast, keeping it alive. Can they send it over? And they do. Looking to regroup here. Niagara trying to send a blast. Big block by Paul Wagner after the setup. And Mohawk is ecstatic because they are still down 1 here. 22 to 21.
McFadden standing up in the bench there. He's excited. He's down here with the team. You know he wants to be out there, but I bet he's happy that Mohawk's having such a good set right now.
Elijah Lopez with the service. Bunch dig by Niagara. Can they keep it alive? And they manage to. Chris Asherwood with the dig, the set, and the blast by Joel Van Dyke, but it gets blocked. Keeps it alive, though. Andrew Kong blast by Brandon Koklus, but they block it again. And a tip by Brandon Koklus is blocked again, but it goes off the hands of Mitch Sawatsky and out of bounds. That is a point for Mohawk. No, my mistake. They awarded it. Nope, that was a mistake on the scoreboard. As I was corrected, it is 22 to 22 here, and they're all tied up.
And they finally closed that gap that they've been working towards this entire set to bring it even now.
Elijah Lopez with the serve. And another big block by Mohawk. And another gigantic block by Paul Wagner. He is an animal on the court today with those blocks. 3 huge blocks in a row to put Mohawk up 23 to 22. And that is a quick timeout call by Niagara as they might be a little scared right now.
Yeah, tables have turned. Mohawk now just 2 points away from taking this set after it looked like Niagara kind of had this one in the bag. Not for sure, but they definitely had a decent-sized lead. 4 or 5 points there consistently, and they kept growing them, and Mohawk just kept climbing on back.
And now Mohawk looks to have themselves a lead in this first set.
Yes, finally.
A hard-earned one at that, as it has been a back-and-forth battle here tonight. Niagara's team just trying to keep themselves positive, keep themselves in this. They're only down a point, and they've been leading the majority of this game so far. And Niagara, and Mohawk not wanting to let up the lead that they have, trying to end it out quick right now. Elijah Lopez will have the serve for Niagara. And a floater over the net that Niagara easily handles. And a huge blast that Chris Dashford was just unable to handle as it flies off of him and out of bounds. And it is all tied up here at 23.
Looked like he was almost just trying to take that one not in the face there.
Almost, yeah. And now Kyle Thiessen has come on the court for Niagara, and he has the serve. First-year rookie from St. Catharines, Ontario. Elijah Lopez with the dig, the set, and the blast by Brandon Cokless into the backcourt, and that is a quick point for Mohawk as they are up 24, looking to take this 24th point as you must win the set by 2.
Yeah, and they'd like to wrap it up right now. They don't want this game to go on any longer, not go into any overtime here.
And now Paul Wagner with the serve. The dig, the set, and the blast, and a big block, but it goes back onto the Mohawk side. And a tip and a blast. Kyle Thiessen keeping the ball alive. Big block by Mohawk. A tip, Paul Wagner keeping the ball alive. Andrew Kong. And a big blast by Brandon Cokless. And finally, Jaden Millen cannot handle it. Mohawk takes the first set, 25-23. What a back and forth roller coaster we had that set.
And that will do it for the first set as Mohawk takes this one. We touched on it earlier here. I spoke with Mitch McFadden before the game. We're going to have that interview coming right now. So don't go anywhere and check this out. A one-on-one with Mitch McFadden. Hello and welcome back here to Mohawk College Volleyball. I'm Cody Lake, and I'm here for a one-on-one interview with top killer in the OCAA, Mitch McFadden. Mitch, you're obviously not in the game tonight. What happened?
Earlier this week, I pulled a groin.
That's unfortunate, of course. The team's obviously going to miss you. What do you think the team's going to do without you in the lineup?
At this point, it's just the next man in line's got to pick it up. The boys will do fine if they buy into the system.
That sounds completable. I'm sure they'll be fine out there. Well, and I hope you heal up soon. Thank you very much. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview.
I know I did.
Oh, I'm sure you did, Wesley. We're just about a minute from getting the second set underway. It shouldn't be too long here as Mohawk took the first one, 25-23.
And we're looking at probably another close set here, but then again, we will see if one team will be able to take a commanding lead or if it's going to be another tight contest like this.
I'd like to see a close game, personally. I find them, I mean, everybody finds them so much more exciting. It's hard not to.
Team setting up, just getting ready to start the second set here. We are almost underway. Mohawk leading 1-0 after the first one. 125-23. What a close set that was. Getting ready. Let's see which team will.
Yeah, last time these guys met, actually, they went into overtime into the first set. Mohawk took that one 29-27. So close games, close sets, nothing new to these two teams.
Tristan Swindon now serving for Niagara. Chris Dashford with the dig. Elijah Lopez looking to send the ball over the net. A missed bobbled spike, but Niagara keeps the ball alive. And that is a point for Mohawk. First point of the set is that is a double hit against Niagara. Now Tristan Swindon goes out, and Robert Zalewski, star player of Niagara, comes in. Now Andrew Kong has to serve. The set, and an absolute blast by Ben Fillmore, who now gains the service, and Elijah Lopez was just unable to handle that. Ben Fillmore from Port Dover, Ontario with the service. Elijah Lopez with the dig. Andrew Kong with the set. And a quick tip over the net by Elijah Lopez. A big blast by Mitch Sawatsky. Kept alive by Chris Dashford. Kept alive by Robert Zalewski. Some diving digs here to keep this ball in play. And a huge blast by Brandon Cokless that does not touch the fingertips of any Niagara player. And that is a point for Niagara now as they're up 2-1. Early. Extremely early in the second set. Ben Fillmore with the service again. The dig, the set, and the quick tip by Paul Wagner, but it does not go over as it's blocked by Niagara. And they set it up again, and Elijah Lopez comes in for a huge spike. But that is a point. That does end up being a point for Mohawk as he spikes it so hard off the defender on Niagara, Mitch Sawatsky, that it goes out of bounds, and it ends up being a point. And now Elijah Lopez has to serve.
Yeah, not only, but that one bounced pretty far back, too.
Went all the way to the back of the court. What a snipe by Elijah Lopez as the Niagara squad stares at the ball thinking it's going to go out of bounds, and it drops just barely inside the back corner.
Yeah, picking corners there with that ace.
Now Elijah Lopez once again. The dig, the set by Ben Fillmore, and a huge blast by Jacob Williamson that just the Mohawk squad was not prepared to handle. As it flies by Elijah Lopez. And now Mitch Sawatsky has the service. And that is out of bounds. That is a point for Mohawk. Seemingly almost stayed in, but just barely enough for Mohawk to pick up that point. Now Mohawk has the service. Paul Wagner. As Mohawk is now up 4-3. And that is an out of bounds mishandled serve by Paul Wagner. Point for Niagara. Jacob Williamson now has the serve. The dig set by Andrew Kong. And the blast by Raphael Light off the fingertips of Tristan Swindon. And that is a point for Mohawk. The dig, the set, and the blast by Jane Milne, but to no avail as Raphael Light comes up with a monumentous block for Mohawk as they are up 6-4 here.
Yeah, they've grown themselves a slim 2-point lead here.
Let's see if they can keep holding on. And a huge spike, but an even better play to keep the ball alive by Joel Van Dyke. And a quick tip to the back of the court, but it is kept alive. Set by Ben Fillmore, and a blast. But that was blocked by Raphael Light. Niagara still has the ball, keeping alive. Chris Dashford tries to keep it, but it goes off of him, and he cannot handle it as it goes out of bounds. And that is a point for Niagara as they're trying to stay in this, as Mohawk still leads by 1 point. And now Elijah Bugardini serving. The dig by Chris Dashford, the set by Andrew Kong, and the blast by Brandon Cokless. But Niagara manages to keep it alive, and the quick tip by Jaden Milton there. And Brandon Cokless, second time's the charm, coming in with the absolute cannon to just send it right through the Niagara squad as they are now up 7-5. Brandon Cokless now has the serve. Mitch Sawatsky with the dig. Big blast by Jaden Milne, and that is a point for Niagara as it went off the hands of Raphael Light and out of bounds. Jaden Milne with the serve now for Niagara. Big dig and an even bigger set And that is a point for Niagara, as it seemingly did not touch anybody's hands. That is what the referees are calling him. We are all tied to 7s here in the second set. Big blast by Jaden Milton. That is a point for Mohawk as it is out of bounds. Raphael Light now gets the serve for Mohawk. A diving dig and a big blast. And Raphael Light could not keep it alive as he tries to keep the ball off the ground. And again, we are all tied up here.
Yeah, it's looking to be another close set here as 8-8 starting this one off.
Tristan Swindon now with the serve, 6-5. The dig by Brandon Cokless, the setup by Andrew Kong, and just a quick tip by Elijah Lopez, but to no avail. Ben Fillmore setting it up for Niagara. And a big blast by Mitch Sawatsky, but it is blocked. And another big blast as Jacob Williamson finally gets it through the wall of Paul Wagner and Elijah Lopez, as Niagara takes the lead 9-8 here.
Yeah, Lopez went up with just one hand there. Probably wasn't the smartest decision as that one leaks through, and it's a point for Niagara Knights.
Tristan Swindon with the serve again. And just a huge spike by Paul Wagner sends it directly into the floor. And again, we are all tied up. This has been a back and forth battle of ties here in the second set. And now Andrew Kong has the serve. Almost a floater, hits the ground, but they keep it alive. Big block by Paul Wagner and Elijah Lopez. Both go up and both come down with a gigantic block on Niagara. And they are ecstatic. And now Andrew Kong will once again have the serve. And again, a barely handled serve. And that is a point for Mohawk once again, as Andrew Kong sending it right to the all-star Robin Zalewski of Niagara, but he just seemingly is not able to handle either of the serves so far. So let's see how this third one will go right here. And he tries to send it in the same spot, but puts a little too much on it as it flies over his head. Niagara picks up that point, and Mohawk is now leading 11-10. Now Ben Fillmore comes out, and Aiden Atkinson goes in. Aiden Atkinson with the serve. Elijah Lopez with the dig. Andrew Kong with the set. And a huge blast by Elijah Lopez. But that is, what a back corner snipe that was by Brandon Cokless to keep the ball inbounds and give Mohawk that 2-point lead. First 2-point lead of the game so far. Well, sorry, the set. Elijah Lopez serving once again for Mohawk. And a big blast, but that is out of bounds. That is a point for Mohawk. As Niagara was trying to set up a play, but just could not aim properly and send it flying out of bounds. Mohawk now up by 3 points, 13-10. Elijah Lopez with his 4th serve in a row. Mitch Sawatsky easily handles that. And a big, I was going to say a big spike, but he changed the speed at the last second and made it a slow floater, and that seemed to throw off the Mohawk squad as they weren't able to handle it, and that is a point for Niagara.
Is that what you call a changeup?
I think that's what you would call a changeup. We now have Mitch Sawatsky with the serve. And the dig in the set. Just trying to get it over the net by Brandon Cokless. And a missed tip by Jaden Milne. Trying to tip it over the net, ends up tipping it back onto his own side. As Mohawk sent it flying back. And at number 6 for Mohawk, Alex Tripp will have the serve. Handled by Mitch Sawatsky. Big dig by Brandon Tripp. By Alex Tripp. Brandon Cokless keeping the ball alive. Joel Van Dyke sends a spike over the net that Niagara easily handles. Back and forth rally here as Mohawk comes up with a big block. Mohawk goes up for another big block, and Niagara sends it out of bounds. This is a point from Mohawk, trying to keep their 3-point lead alive here. as we are about halfway through the second set.
Yeah, make it a 4-point lead now for Mohawk.
Alex Tripp with the serve. Niagara stumbles to keep the ball alive, but they manage to keep it in. Brandon Cokless keeping it alive for for Mohawk. A diving play by Robert Zaluski to keep it alive for Niagara, but Mohawk handles that easily and keeps the ball alive. Accidentally sends it over. Big spike off the top of the net that fools the Niagara squad as they were ready to receive the spike, but the misdirection by the net fooled them. And that's the point for Niagara as they're trying to come within that 3-point gap here. Jacob Williamson with the serve for Niagara. Chris Dasher with the dig. Andrew Kong with the set. And Brandon Cokless could not send it over the net as he puts it directly in. And that is a point for Niagara now. And that is a quick serve. But the Mohawk squad knew it was going on a bounce, so they just let it go and pick up the point. Keep that 3-point lead going for him. Joel Van Dyke now serving for Mohawk. Hits the tip of the net, barely handled by Niagara. 2 guys go up, 1 comes down, but in the end, it's a point for Mohawk as they blast it out of bounds. Mohawk now with a 4-point lead. Joel Van Dyke serving again. The set in the blast, but a big block by Raphael Light. And then another big block by Raphael Light. Chris Ashford managing to keep the ball alive. Brandon Cokless sends it over the net with an absolute blast, but Niagara handles it and they struggle and they're trying to keep back. Brandon Cokless takes it off his face, keeps it alive. Andrew Kong barely gets the ball over the net. What a rally we have going back and forth here, folks. And that's a whistle and a point for Mohawk after an epic rally as he came in and put the hand over the net. Tristan Swindon put his hand over the net, and that is a point for Mohawk. The Niagara coach
shaking his head.
Audibly unhappy with that call, but not arguing it.
No, he's going to end up with a yellow card like we saw in the women's game today. We know these refs aren't afraid of giving them out if they feel need be.
No, because it just isn't really a coach's job to scream at the ref from the other side of the court, you know.
No, and they don't like listening to that.
That's what they have captains for, to do that job.
You can see Mitch McFadden there up in the huddle trying to be there for his team. He's not he obviously it must be hard for players when they're on the injury reserve and they can't play. There's
no worse feeling than being injured and not being able to help your team, especially in a very distinct game like we have here, because Mohawk and Niagara are so evenly combined. The man will obviously want to be able to contribute and help his team to try to earn a victory, but the fact that he's unable to play is just probably killing the man.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But so far, the Mohawk squad is doing fairly well as they took the first set narrowly by 2 points, but they have a 5-point lead against Niagara here, a little over halfway through the second set, I'd say. As Joel Van Dyke goes to have the serve once again for Mohawk. And a big block by Mohawk. And an even bigger block by Niagara as they set up and they try to bring it in. But Tristan Swindon is just too much and they cannot send it past him, as Mohawk is only up by 4 points now. Elijah Bugardini with the serve, but sends it directly into the net. Very unhappy with that. Now Brandon Cokless from Hamilton, Ontario has the serve for the Mountaineers. And he sends it just barely outside the line. And that is a point for Niagara. Easy points going back and forth here for both teams. Jane Milne now has the serve for Niagara. Easily handled by Chris Dashford. Set up and sent directly to the net by Joel Van Dyke as he could not get the angle on to send it over the net. And Jane Milne now with the service once again. Chris Ashford easily handles that with a diving dig. Brandon Coco's trying to tip it over the net. And a big point for Niagara as Jaden Milne sends a blast right past the Mohawk wall. Niagara cuts the difference to 2 points as Mohawk now has called a timeout. The Niagara coach is very unhappy with the referees today.
Yeah,
and
he's
being very
now
vocal.
he's now mouthed both, standing on each side of the net. One tossed the ball down to him, and he didn't like the fact that the ref didn't take care of the ball and throw it to the ball girl. So he decided to become verbal about that. Now we're going to, speaking of coaches, though, we're going to take a look at Steven Stone as he tries to pump up the Mountaineers here. Up by 2 points, they're just going to need to try and keep the consistency going. I think that's the main part.
Yeah, they want to stay consistent with their play. They've been consistently good. They've been playing well to keep this Niagara squad at bay.
So they're going to be able to do a little bit more of that.
Mohawk clearly more prepared than Niagara, as they're already just sitting out waiting for the Niagara squad to come out and play. Now Jaden Milne will have the serve for Niagara. Handled by Chris Ashford. And a big blast by Elijah Lopez that is handled. Another dig by Chris Ashford. He has been on fire for digs. And a huge blast by Elijah Lopez that gets down in between the net and Tristan Swindon of Niagara. And that is a point for Mohawk because they're up 20-17 here. And now Raphael Light has the serve. Burlington boy. Diving dig by the Niagara player and just a quick tip. And that is a point for Mohawk, and as it was a lift by Mitch Sawatsky, and Mohawk is now 21-17. Served by Raphael Light once again. The dig. And the huge blast, but an even bigger block by Paul Wagner and Andrew Kong. Both guys go up, and huge block. My mistake, that actually ended up being a point. It must have gone off of one of the Mohawk players out of bounds. That was a point for Niagara. My mistake. And now they have the serve. Elijah Lopez comes up for the huge spike, but it gets blocked. Comes up with the huge spike, but it's blocked again, but it gets blocked off the fingertips of the Niagara squad. So that is a point for Mohawk. Looking to fix the net here. Mitch Sawatsky asking the referee. The Niagara coach audibly unhappy. Andrew Kong with the serve. A bubble dig, but they managed to keep the ball alive and send it back over the net to the Mohawk side. Mohawk comes in with the setup, and a huge blast by Joel Van Dyke that Elijah Bugardini is just unable to handle as they take another point. And it's now 23-18. Niagara calling a timeout. Mohawk visibly excited as they took a commanding 5-point lead here in the second.
How can they not be? Now 2 points away from taking the second set, and they have done a much better job in this set than the first set.
It's been a lot more control for Mohawk as the Mohawks really just let Niagara make their own mistakes, as they counted 5 separate points, which is the lead that Mohawk has now, has been off of errors that Niagara has purely made on their own.
Yeah.
Missed kills, and even failed blocks.
Even Robert Zalewski, he even had a lift.
He had a lift. He has not been having the game that Niagara is wanting him to have here as the rookie sensation that he's supposed to be. He is not providing
the steady, consistent play. He isn't known for his offense by for sure, but he's known for his consistent play, and having a mistake like that is really out of character for him.
Mo the Hog doing a little dances. We're just about to get started here. After that quick timeout. Andrew Kong with the serve to get back in here. And that is What an absolute inbound snipe by Andrew Kong. The fans are loving it, and it just barely landed inside the line, and Mohawk is now 1 point away from taking the second set. Unfortunately, Andrew Kong hits the net with that service. That's a point for Niagara as Niagara's trying to close the gap. They're still down 5 points here. Mohawk 1 point away from closing the second set out. Aiden Atkinson with a serve, trying to keep Niagara alive. The dig, the set. In the cross-court blast by Joel Van Dyke is kept alive by the Niagara squad. Elijah Lopez with the set. Joel Van Dyke comes in for another spike. And that is a point for Niagara. I almost thought that I tipped off the Niagara player, but it seemingly just barely missed his hand. Niagara staying alive, still down by 4 points.
Sometimes you're lucky whenever it doesn't hit you.
Sometimes. Aiden Atkinson with the serve once again. The dig, the set, and Elijah Lopez with the kill. And that is a point for Niagara as it goes out of bounds. And a smart play by Robert Zalewski as he decides to just barely pull his hand away, not touch it. As Mohawk has been stopped at 24, looking to end this out. Chris Dashford with the dig, the set, and a blast, but a big block by Jacob Williamson of Niagara. And then a big block by Paul Wagner of Mohawk, going back and forth here. And Mitchell Walksy just tries to get the ball over the net. Andrew Kong with the set, and a huge blast by Paul Wagner. And that is the second set taken for Mohawk as they go up 2-0 against Niagara. As a huge spike from Paul Wagner.
Yeah, 25-21 here in the second set for your Mohawk Mountaineers as they look to finish this off in 3 consecutive sets, just like the girls did earlier today.
I wonder if we're going to be looking at the same kind of third set that we saw with the girls of a back and forth.
I would hope so. I would hope so. If anything, if it's like the girls' game, then it's just going to be exciting, and I can't wait for that. Looking now that they've won these 2 sets, it's kind of funny how we thought at the beginning of the game that Mitch McFadden wasn't going to be was going to be a huge factor. The fact that he wasn't in this game was going to be huge.
A huge deal. Mohawk is playing very strong without one of their main attacking players right now.
And he said in that interview that they was just going to be passed to the next guy. That he was just the next man in line.
He was not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
As
Elijah Lopez and Brandon Koklis
have been the 2 big names. Joel Van Dyke's been coming through. He had a solid 5. He has earned 5 points in the second set alone for his team with just come through quick plays. So just the workload being passed around to the different Mohawk players. And it's exactly as McFadden said.
Yeah.
It's just going to the next guy in line.
Yeah, when with that a great, exciting set, we're going to take a look at some highlights now. Look back on what kind of went wrong for Niagara in that set and what went right for your Mountaineers.
And we see a big blast that just 2 people go up to block, but they don't stick together and cause a hole. And just, they put it directly in the hands. Paul Wagner has been an absolute beast for blocks so far this game.
Almost forgot about Paul Wagner.
He has 10 blocks in between the 2 sets here that I've counted, and that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, the team blocks for Mohawk doing what they should be doing. Niagara, not so much. They're going up on these solo blocks. They aren't working as a unit, and you can tell that it just isn't working for them. And that makes sense because you can't go up by yourself and expect to get those blocks all the time.
No.
Not with the same consistency that you'll get team blocks.
No.
And we're just about ready to get the action back
Just
here.
want to start back up. I think if Niagara wants to have a hope, they need to start putting some of their bigger boys at the front to get these blocks.
Yeah,
because
and
everything's been slipping through.
And that's up to Coach Nathan Gronveld, as he needs to start doing a little bit more mixing of the lineup. I think he's letting them kind of roll right now, and he needs to keep those big boys in the front, keep his big defensive like Zalewski, keep him in the back, and try and work to their strength here. He knows that he has a very
If you look at the teams, that Niagara has a decent size advantage overall from all the players compared to Mohawk, but they're just not using that to their advantage. And now Andrew Kong goes with the serve. This at the dig and the big blast. And a quick way for Mohawk to start, and a quick error, my mistake for Niagara to start there with as they send the kill directly to bounds. And that was a quick point for Mohawk, and Mohawk just picking up points off of Niagara's errors.
Yeah, and they just need to keep doing more of that. Just let Niagara dig themselves into a hole and then take advantage of that.
Diving play by Brandon Koklas and Andrew Kong. They were not able to get it as it tipped off of Joel Van Dyke's hand. And we are 1-1 here.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to look at. I wouldn't say funny. It's weird almost to look at. Without McFadden in the lineup, have you noticed that the tables have almost turned? That instead of Mohawk being the team that provides all the errors and the other team just feeds off those errors, this game, yeah, they're doing the opposite. They're waiting for those errors. They're waiting for the other team to make a mistake, and it's working for them.
Huge blast by Paul Wagner sends it directly into the midsection of rookie sensation Robert Zlewski. Not much of a sensation on that play, as he could do nothing but catch the ball. He just caught it.
Yeah, caught it between his knees there. And yeah, I'm not sure if he even caught it or if it more just got wedged in between his legs.
Served by Elijah Lopez. Mitch Swatsky with the dig. And a huge blast, but Chris Dashford unfortunately cannot handle it. It is 2-2. And now Mitch Swatsky has the serve. The set and the blast by Brandon Koklas. And that is way out of bounds. A player from the Niagara team ran onto the Mohawk side to try to play that ball. I don't know if that would have even counted if he did, but you got to give him the effort.
Yeah, he was going for that one for sure. He was tracking it and he wanted to get to it. I'm not sure either.
Big man today, Paul Wagner, with the serve. He's been all over the court with blocks and with massive spikes.
Yeah, sure showing his dominant. Been a dominant display of power from Paul Wagner so far.
And a huge block from Raphael Light and Joel Van Dyke as they go up and come down. Blocking. Defense has been the story for Mohawk so far, as their offense is unreal so far. But the real thing is their defense has just been letting the other team make their own errors.
Like we said before, it's just a completely different looking Mohawk here today without their star in the lineup.
And Paul Wagner with the serve again. And a huge blast coming in from Jacob Williamson of Niagara, soaring past the Mohawk team that can't handle it. Now there's a quick substitution. Chris Ashford comes in for Paul Wagner. And now Jacob Williamson has the service for Niagara. Chris Ashford handles it well. Set up by Andrew Kong, and a huge blast by Raphael Light that sends it past the hands of Tristan Swindon. And Mohawk is now up 5-3. Mishandled by the Niagara player, but saved, and they send it back over the net. Andrew Kong sets up, and a huge blast by Elijah Lopez, and an absolute laser beam right past Mitch Sawatsky, who could not handle it. And Mohawk has now doubled up in Niagara 6-3. The set and Elijah Bugardini comes in for the blast, but an absolutely destructive block by Raphael Light, forcing Niagara to call a timeout as Mohawk is up 7-3 now, continuing their dominance that they had last set. If you look at the two last sets, Mohawk is just increasingly putting out better offense each set, as they won the first one 25-23. And then the second set, they won 25-21, as they're slowly allowing Niagara to score less and less points each set.
And I might be wrong here, but they might have come out with the focus on their defense knowing Mitch wasn't in the lineup. I know we keep going back to that, and I don't want to, but we kind of have to. But now that they've settled in, and as you said, they've progressively gotten more offensive. Well, maybe that's because they are becoming more comfortable, and they're being able to use their offense as a tool, and they know that they don't need Mitch for that offense.
100% sure. Mohawk's usually the all-gun, all-risk and reward type play, but they're really playing a smart. They're really using the saying the best offense is a good defense today.
And they are transitioning into very good offense now.
As a lot of their points have come from huge blocks.
Yeah.
And now Joel Van Dyke has the serve for Mohawk. The dig by Mitch Sawatsky. Raphael Light goes up with a huge block, sends it back. Set up by Andrew Kong, and a huge blast by Brandon Koklas. Goes off the arms of Mitch Sawatsky because he cannot handle that power that he put into that. And Mohawk is up 8-3 now in this third set.
Yeah, and they're steamrolling so far in this third set. They don't look like
Joel Van Dyke with the serve.
they don't look
again.
like they want to give up any points to Niagara here today.
And the blast bounces off of the side of the net. Just barely trickles past Brandon Cokless, who can't reach it. Niagara close the gap to 4. Elijah Bugardini with the serve. Chris Ashford barely handled it. Huge blast by Brandon Cokless. But that is a point for the Niagara squad. As I'm guessing it went out of bounds. It looked like it hit off one of their hands, but apparently not.
Steven Stone trying to get an answer from the ref. No
Elijah-
luck, like usual.
Elijah Bugardini with the service again. And Andrew Kwong with the quick little tip sends it to the back court where no one was. And that's a quick point for Mohawk. Steven Stone immediately happy now as that point that he thought was there.
It's
just
funny.
quickly made back.
It's funny how your emotions can change so much as a head coach.
Brandon Cokless now has the serve. Mitch Sawatsky barely handling it. Brandon Cokless keeping the ball alive. Andrew Kong with the set. Elijah Lopez comes in for the huge blast. Goes off the hands of the Niagara player. Back and forth rally we have here. 3 blocks each side. Let's see if we can see some more. That is the 4th block by Niagara. And that is the 4th and final block needed to end that rally as Niagara takes that point. And they have closed the gap to 3 here as Mohawk is up 9-6. And this is now a serve for Jaden Milne. What a snipe by Jaden Milne. The entire Mohawk squad calls out and watches the ball just barely land on the inside of that back line.
Yeah, that was a really close call. You can't exactly. Here's the thing, and this is whenever I was playing volleyball. This is what I was always told.
Back in the high school days?
Back in the high school days, you can't just give those up. It's better to go for it and hit it and get a play out of it than call it out and watch it hit the line.
Very true. Big point by Mohawk we just saw there. Raphael Light with the serve. And Jaden Milne just cannot handle it and almost looks like he rolls his ankle a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. As that was a quick pickup for Mohawk, as he just was not prepared for the short drop. Raphael Light, service again. The Niagara coach just looking seemingly unhappy with his team's play right now, as I would be too. Kept alive and sent over by Elijah Lopez. Extremely mishandled, but Mitch Sawatsky keeps it in. Can they send the ball back over? They do. Raphael Light sets it up. Andrew Kong, huge too much going on here. Just too much going on. Too big of a rally. 4 different people touching the ball there. And it ended up with Tristan Swindon coming in and sending just a huge blast past the Mohawk squad. So Niagara can pick up a point. Still down by 3 points, though. Tristan Swindon now has the serve.
I'm surprised you didn't run out of breath sooner, Wes.
Yeah, that was wild. Dig by Brandon Cokless. The set by Andrew Kong. And Elijah Lopez comes in, fakes the blast, but tips it. Major miscommunication by the Niagara squad there. As Elijah Bugardini tips the ball just over the head of Jaden Milne, who is in perfect position to receive that. Andrew Kong now serving for Mohawk. Quick tip over the net. Mohawk handles that well. Big setup. Joel Van Dyke goes up for the spike, but it gets blocked by the Niagara squad. Jacob Williams, and huge block as Niagara's trying to even it up here. Aiden Atkinson with the serve from Ingersoll, Ontario. Don't actually know where that is. Paul Wagner goes up with a huge spike, but Jacob Williamson again, that's 2 huge blocks in a row for the man. As I guess he's single-handedly trying to put up the defense for Niagara. Elijah Lopez now with the serve. Never mind, my mistake. That was the point for Mohawk, as it must have hit off the Niagara team and gone out of bounds. And we almost get smacked with the ball here as a huge spike goes off the hands of Paul Wagner.
That was too hot for me to handle even coming off the ground, so I wouldn't want to be on the court right now, that's for sure.
Living dangerously over here as Mitch Sawatsky now has the serve. Elijah Lopez with the dig, the set by Andrew Kong, and just a quick little tip by Brandon Cokless. Another quick little tip, but his hand was outside of the post on the net as well as the ball. So that's another point for Mohawk because they are still up 4 points, 14-10 here. About halfway through the second set. And there is now a substitution. Paul Wagner comes off and Raphael Light goes on. And now Alex Tripp has the service.
Paul Wagner getting high fives from all of his teammates as he comes off there, and
Been an
for good
absolute
reason.
defensive machine today. Mitch Sawatsky awkwardly handles that. And a huge spike by Jacob Williamson is out of bounds. That's another point for Mohawk as they increase their lead to 5 here. The dig by the set and the blast. No, my apologies. Elijah Bugardini comes in with a huge spike, trying to make up for that botched play he had earlier. Getting that point back, so they are now still within 4 points. Jacob Williamson now with the serve for Niagara. The dig by Elijah Lopez, and Joel Van Dyke comes in for the huge blast, easily handled by the Niagara players. Mitch Sawatsky sets it up, Joel Van Dyke sends it back over, but blocked again. Back on the Niagara side. And that is the point for Niagara, as that is the double hit by Mohawk.
Yeah, and close eyes there, and it was a good eye because that one wasn't very obvious of a double hit, but
No,
it was
I
called.
didn't. I personally didn't see it. Jacob Williamson with the serve. And that is way out of bounds, soaring over the head. Easy pickup point for Mohawk as they're up 4 points once again, 16-12 here. About halfway through the third set.
If Mohawk was able to take this one in 3 sets, it would go perfectly with the way they've been playing this year. Win or lose, they don't like playing much more than 3 sets a game.
No, it's just over and done with, whether they win or they lose.
This has made it harder for them to collect team points, so that's why they only have 447 team points coming into this game.
Big dig by Joel Van Dyke there.
Whereas Niagara has over 600.
Big difference there in points. Brandon Kokos comes in for a huge cross-court kill, but ends up sending it out of bounds, so there's a point for Niagara as they're trying to stay within 3 to 4 points here. Elijah Bugardini. A soft serve over the net, handled easily by Chris Dashford. And 3 fake spikes come in. What is the call? That's a point for Mohawk. I'm quite confused into what the call is, as is the Niagara team.
And the captain was supposed to go over and talk to him, but
Still not quite
told
sure
not
on what
to.
that call was, but either way, that is a point for Mohawk, and Brandon Koklas now has the serve. And that is extremely mishandled by Mitch Sawatsky there, as he comes in too much and it hits him right in the shoulder.
and every single one of these points now, they're bringing themselves closer and closer to this victory
It's as
here
I
today.
said, Mohawk is trying to play a smart defensive game. They let up a little points, but at the end of the day, they're just playing. They're playing very smart and just letting the team make the mistakes that we've seen. But a quick setup here, and Mitch Sawatsky doesn't know what to do, so he just tries to send it over the net. And Elijah Lopez with an absolute blast, but it comes from outside of the pole. It comes from outside of the boundary line. So that is a point for Niagara as they're trying to stay within 4 points here. Big blast there by Jaden Milne. It goes out of bounds. Another point for Mohawk. This is now 19-14. There is a switch. Paul Wagner is now coming back in, and Alex Tripp goes out. Raphael Light now has the serve, as Mohawk is looking to try to end it out here. Standard dig and come. Mitch Sawatsky coming in with an absolute cannon of a spike. Gets blocked by Mohawk, but ends up going out of bounds anyway. So Niagara picks the point. Stays within 4 is what they've been trying to stay within by the looks of it. And now Tristan Swindon has the serve. Extremely mishandled by Brandon Koklas. Just goes right in between his hands. And just not very happy with that. Now Tristan Swindon has the serve again. The dig, the set, and the absolute blast by Elijah Lopez. Inbounds. Wow, what power behind that as it sends it soaring past the Niagara squad. It's now 20-16 for Mohawk. They're looking to hopefully be able to end this and take 3 sets to 0. Mitch Sawatsky handles it, sets it up. Fake blast. Mitch Sawatsky comes in. Huge block by Joel Van Dyke, but they barely tip it over the net. And Andrew Kong sends it over for safety just so they can step back up. And Jacob Williamson with a huge blast past Chris Dashford and Brandon Cokeless for the point. Niagara trying to close the gap, only down 3 here now.
Yeah, and they'll need a couple more plays just like that if they want to get back into this game.
Aiden Atkinson now has the serve. Dig by Elijah Lopez. A huge blast by Paul Wagner, barely kept alive by the Niagara squad. And another big blast by Mitch Sawatsky. Mohawk handles easily. Huge blast by Elijah Lopez. And that is a big point for Mohawk as it tipped off the Niagara player. Niagara very confused and disheartened by that. But they do not question it.
Yeah, they were really hoping they were going to get that point there, and they thought they got the point to bring them within 2, but not as lucky as they thought.
Elijah Lopez with the serve, trying to end up the game here. Mitch Sawatsky with the dig, and a huge blast right past Chris Dashford by Jacob Williamson, who was pointing right to the ground, saying this one's not out. But he was wrong, it was out of bounds. And it's now 22-17 for Mohawk. Points to the ground, stating that it was in bounds. But wrong again he was, as that's now 2 blasts that Niagara has botched on, putting him out of bounds. And that has been quite the story of this game so far, as we were originally looking at 2 supposed to be very evenly matched, very close teams here. But so far, Mohawk has just been the better team.
Well, Mohawk had a little bit of a rockier start than Niagara did. Now, you have to understand that Mohawk has grown a lot over the course of the season, whereas Niagara's coming into this also pretty hot, but maybe that's kind of made their confidence maybe by killing them, to be honest.
They probably came into possibly they could have came into this game thinking that it was an easy win just because Mohawk was below them in the standings. Them disregarding the fact that we weren't away by far and that we are very close in most stats. So there really isn't much of a difference between us. Joel Van Dyke coming off as Owen Keegan is getting his first play time of the game. And Elijah Lopez now has the serve. Dig set, and a huge blast by Elijah Bugardini, but blasted out of bounds. That's another point for Mohawk. Mohawk gotten their last 3 points purely by Niagara errors. And if they pick up 2 more, that'll be the end of the set. And the end of the game.
I say not only the set, but the game itself will be over. Another quick win for Mohawk. If so, they'll bring themselves with 5 and 6 if they can do that.
A huge block by Paul Wagner has been the story of this game so far. Absolutely devastating the Niagara team with his blocks.
And it is game point. Elijah Lopez
with
taking the serve. McFadden screaming, "Get out there and finish it, boys." That's his exact quote.
And that ball barely looking out of bounds there. Niagara picking up a point, trying to stay alive in this. Mohawk trying to close this out.
Looks like Van Dyke will be coming on here. And he will be in replace of Owen Keegan, who will be taking a seat.
Made a solid play. Kyle Thiessen with the serve. And that is out of bounds, and that is the win for Mohawk.
And that is the game.
What an absolutely huge win from Mohawk, as we are looking and everybody's expecting a 5-set close as can be game, but that is just not what we saw. We just saw Mohawk absolutely devastating the Niagara team.
Before the game, you and me even talked that we thought we were going to be here until 8, possibly 9 o'clock tonight, because these 2 teams, girls and guys, were so evenly matched. But we weren't right at all on that one, actually.
No, it was just a complete stomping by Mohawk.
Taking the 6 sets to none, guys and girls combined.
Yeah, it's just quite unbelievable considering how close the teams were supposed to be.
Taking a look at Mohawk, though, you might want to just step back and think, you know what? maybe these guys are more than we give them credit for now. They do this, that brings them to 5 and 6 after a very rocky start. And now they have a chance to make the playoffs. And not only that, they won this game without Mitch McFadden, proving that they're more than just as Elijah Lopez, ecstatic, comes over, giving high fives.
Mohawk team loving life right now.
Yeah, they're so happy with the win. They're a high energy club, and they bring that everywhere they go.
And coming up, we're going to be looking at some highlights, quick times right here. Here we go. As we're just going to be looking at, hopefully seeing just the absolute power that Mohawk was putting in their blasts, and just the pure positional mistakes Niagara had made. As you see, half these blasts just came right off their hands and feet as they just weren't in position to receive these blasts. But then again, maybe it was just perfect sniping by Mohawk.
It was a little bit of both, I think, Wes.
As you see right there, a bumbled play. Another miscommunication there in the Niagara squad, as that was their downfall, was just miscommunication.
Miscommunication. I have to agree with you on that statement alone. They did not communicate quite like the Mohawk. Mohawk was they're so verbal when they're on the court versus Niagara, who didn't really talk that much. They didn't go up for team blocks quite like Mohawk did, and that resulted in a Mountaineers victory here tonight over the Niagara Knights.
And we're just about done here for our OCAA action, Mohawk versus Niagara. Mohawk took a big win, and everybody is here in good spirits except the Niagara squad, but that's about all the time we have for you tonight. I'm Wes Linwood, along with Cody Lake, and we'll see you next time.